Hello and good morning. I am Shelley Negrani, a member of this congregation and your worship associate today. Together with all of the people who have contributed to this service, especially our video editor, John Pruitt, I welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Metro Atlanta North congregation, which we affectionately call UUMAN. Whoever you are, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, whomever you love, you are welcome here. This service continues our lay-led summer theme of lifting up the voices of UUMAN and the Unitarian Universalist Association to which we belong. Today we will be honoring the work we do to fulfill part of our mission, transform the world, by participating in Family Promise. In this service, we are excited to offer a sermon by Noel Lemon, a member of UUMAN who has very recently graduated from seminary. Next week, UUMAN member Christopher Wilson will be offering a service entitled Becoming Superhuman, in which we are invited to reflect on our 6 foundational sources and transforming them into positive momentum in extraordinary ways. Chris originally called this service Emerson versus Yoda, which really intrigued me. I hope that you will join us. The service on July 25th will be Brain as a Dingle Hopper. Ayana Coffee Stringer recently got diagnosed with ADHD. In this service, she will mark this amazing moment, as well as talk about the difference it makes in her life, and how she had all of the skills and tools needed to use her ADHD brain, but was working with the wrong operating manual, so to speak. Then on August 1st, UUMAN members working on the Mimosa Hall project will conduct the service, sharing the story of making a concrete and visible difference in the community. There is a team of people working hard to make it possible for us to get back in the sanctuary for Sunday services. If all goes well, ingathering on August 8th will be a real ingathering in that the service will be held at UUMAN. Safety features will be in place, including masks and restricting the size of the in-person group. The service will also be, for the first time ever, live streamed on YouTube. This week, Nicole Presley, the UU The Vote national organizer, put out an urgent call to all congregations. The UUA is part of a huge coalition organizing the Good Trouble Vigils for Democracy on July 17th, the first-year anniversary of John Lewis's passing. The call that she put out included the following: we have reached an inflection point in which we must force our elected officials to act now or risk losing the very foundation of our republic. But there is hope for us to stop this undercurrent of corruption and rebuild American democracy so that the freedom to vote is protected, billionaires don't control our political systems, and our representatives actually respond to we the people. To do this, we must pass the For the People Act, the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, and DC statehood, and we can't let anything, including the Jim Crow filibuster, stand in our way. Join us for the Good Trouble Vigils for Democracy on July 17th, as we carry on his legacy by hosting candlelight vigils nationwide to demand that Congress act to protect our freedom to vote and rebuild our democracy. If we are willing to make it happen, materials will be sent to us for holding a candlelight vigil in Roswell from 7 to 9 p.m. on July 17th. There is also a Zoom meeting tonight at 7 to get us organized. Because Carla Kapeskis, the chair of our Social Justice Committee, is out of the country, I have offered to coordinate UUMAN to participate as a group. I will be sending out an announcement on UUMAN announcements later today, so please watch for it. I don't need to tell you what is at stake. Remember our mission. Strive for justice, transform the world. If you are visiting with us for the first time, welcome. Everyone is invited to join us for virtual coffee and conversation after the service at 10:45. The link for the gathering can be found on the home page of our website. And now, I invite you to take a breath, come into this space as we share Sunday service together.
Hi, I'm Jane Soul from UUMAN's membership team. If you're new to our community, I'd like to take this opportunity to personally welcome you. Please take a moment and visit the website, UUMAN.org. There, on the homepage, you'll find an online visitor registration form. After filling it out, one of us on the team will contact you. We look forward to meeting you.
Our call to worship is by John Saxon. Listen, can you hear it? The Spirit is calling. It calls us in the silence and through the noise and busyness of our daily lives. It calls us in the brightness of the day and the darkness of the night, in times of hope and despair. Listen, can you hear it? The Spirit is calling. It doesn't matter what you call it, for it has no name and has many different names. The Spirit of life, the Spirit of love, the Spirit of compassion, the Spirit of hope, the Spirit of justice. Listen, can you hear it? The Spirit is calling. It's calling to you and to me. It's calling us to greater wholeness, greater connection, greater justice, greater service, greater love. It's calling us to heal the brokenness within ourselves, in others, and in the world. It's calling us to live more deeply. It's calling us to beauty. It's calling us to laugh and dance and sing. It's calling us to live through life's pain and sorrow. It's calling us to live courageously and kindly, to speak our truth in love, and to bend the moral arc of the universe toward justice. It's calling us into community. It's calling us into the greater life of all. Listen, can you hear it? The Spirit is calling. Amen.
Today's chalice lighting was written by Melanie Davis. If ever there was a time for a candle in the darkness, this would be it. Using a spark of hope, kindle the flame of love, ignite the light of grace, and feed the flame of justice.
It would never cross my mind that I would end up in a shelter, I would end up homeless. Never in a million years.
So I was actually at a warehouse, like a regular day, just picking up some merchandise that I was had to deliver. When a gentleman that was working on the side of me struck me with a forklift, injured my knee, my back, my neck, and both my feet. I was actually in a wheelchair for about almost a month.
I was working full-time as a chef, My kids were dressed well, they ate, they went to school, they had friends, they've had birthday parties, and it just stops.
You're at that place where you can't go anywhere else. You've hit rock bottom, and it's almost like you're in this dark place and somebody reaches out a hand.
Across this country, there's few shelter beds for families. And those shelters that do take families in, they split families up. What's unique about Family Promise is that we keep families together. And when they come into our program, we work with them to help rebuild their lives. We help them to find housing, jobs, job training. We help them find health care, daycare. It's a very comprehensive program.
What families get when they come into a Family Promise affiliate is, yes, they get the case management and all of their needs met, but they're getting safety, security, stability, and they're getting hope. The affiliate model is replicable and cost-effective because every community, whether it is a large city, a suburb, or a rural area, has the key components. They have congregations that can provide space. They have a pool of volunteers who are passionate, who want to make a difference, and realize that if you can get all of these people working together, you can address family homelessness in a way that is not only cost-effective, but highly successful.
People didn't just forget you when they went home. They didn't do it to make themselves feel better for a couple hours. They remembered you, they came in, they spoke about you to the next congregation, and to the next congregation. You weren't just handed off to the next person. You were given over to somebody else to let them take care of you as well.
I can't even put into words how it is that everybody was just there. It didn't matter who I was, what I've been through, why I was there. It mattered that I was Crystal and these were my children, and you wanted to be there for me.
I think it's really important for my children to be involved in Family Promise because it's showing them that there are people that are just like you, that have different circumstances, but we all need to eat at night, we all need a bed to go to sleep in, we all need clothes to put on our back, a school to go to every day, a backpack filled with our school supplies. We all need that. We all need a hug from our families. We all need a goodnight kiss.
Normally, when we're asked to support a cause, we're asked to write a check, or we're asked perhaps to serve on a board, and that's fine. But with Family Promise, we're given the opportunity to get our hands involved, to get our bodies involved, to get our minds involved, to get our children involved.
Everybody needs individual human help. I think working with Family Promise has made me, as a person, understand that I can make a difference to another human being on a one-on-one level.
Family Promise is like a family to me. They mean a lot. And any problem that I have, any situation that I have, I know that they're a phone call away. All I have to do is call them.
It just means Family Promise holds up to their actual name. Everything that you need to know about them is right there. It's a promise to keep you as a family.
There's no other way to explain that than the darkness, and then there's a light at the end of the tunnel. It's just, there's no other feeling like that in the world. And it can be like that for everyone.
Compassion is alive and well in America. We all lead such busy lives. It's not that we don't care. We want to make a difference, but we don't always know how to connect. And Family Promise allows people to make a difference in their own communities, in the lives of homeless families. When they get involved, doors are opened. Lives are changed. The lives of homeless families and the lives of volunteers as well.
Now is the time in the service when the ties that bind us together are spoken aloud. If you have a joy or a sorrow that you would like to share with this congregation, please do so by typing it into the chat. I'll drop this pebble for those joys and sorrows not yet spoken. Let us hold each other in our hearts until we meet again.
Fate has a funny way of sometimes providing something you didn't know that you wanted or needed. Recently, Donna and I found ourselves ensnared into being co-chairs of the Family Promise Committee. I honestly couldn't relate the process of exactly how this came about. But afterwards, we were in agreement. If we had to be co-chairs of a UUMAN committee, we couldn't have picked a better one than the Family Promise Committee. We have supported UUMAN's Family Promise efforts since they began. We feel strongly that Family Promise is one of the best things we do here. It's one area where we demonstrably put our principles into action, giving concrete and much-needed help to neighbors who are suffering through a difficult time. Recently, Donna and I sat in the Discovery Hall kitchen speaking with a Family Promise mom. She had recently lost not one but 2 family members. She couldn't go to be with her family because of her situation. She cried, and we grieved with her. But after a time, she began to talk of her plans for the future. While her story was unbearably sad, she still had hope. Family Promise had given her hope and restored her faith in humanity and the worthiness of life. It's a precious thing to be allowed to be a part of restoring hope. As I record this video, we just wrapped up 2 weeks of hosting Family Promise families at UUMAN. This was a challenging visit, but a rewarding one. I want to thank all of the volunteers who made this effort a successful one. Especially, I want to thank those individuals who performed multiple tasks. We had 9 people who doubled up on volunteer tasks, either being overnight or evening hosts or helping with move-in and move-out efforts. We also had a generous outpouring of support for gift cards, which helped the families buy gas and essentials. I overheard a remark by one lady as we packed the truck to move the families today. She said that she didn't want to go. I think the Family Promise families like UUMAN, in part because of the home equality that only a house like Discovery Hall can give, but also because of the generosity and compassion of our volunteers. I'd like to think that they felt safe and well taken care of for those 2 weeks they spent with us. John Connolly wrote, "The nature of humanity, its essence, is to feel another's pain as one's own, and to act to take that pain away. There is a nobility in compassion, a beauty in empathy, a grace in forgiveness." Family Promise and UUMAN's participation in Family Promise enables that compassion and that grace. If you supported those efforts this time, we thank you from the bottom of our heart. If not, we hope you will join us next time as we continue this important work.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. I'd like you to close your eyes with me for a moment. I'd like you to think of the word home. What does that word bring up for you? For most of us, it brings up a sense of safety. One of my favorite quotes about the complicated safety of home is, "Home is where, when you go there, they have to let you in." Your memories of home, particularly in childhood, may involve baking cookies or cuddling with a parent or grandparent. Maybe there are pets or a partner to cuddle with now. Movie nights, a kitchen well stocked with food, maybe a yard or a view. Maybe for you, though, the word is more complicated and brings up a sense of loneliness, of loss or sorrow. Regardless, for nearly all of us, home is a tangible thing, a place we can go. But for some, not so much. Throughout my childhood, I was shuffled from family member to family member, not quite homeless, but my home was a memory of a place I would never live again, and everywhere else was just where I was living at the time. I am deeply, deeply grateful for those who took me in during those times, especially my grandmothers. Their love and care and the consistency with which they made me feel welcome and not as though I were just a burden cast upon them by irresponsible family members, was a primary source of stability in my young life. Still, I remember the summers of packing up everything that was mine and leaving behind everything that wasn't. Everything that had been given to me, but was actually owned by the family member whose house it was. I remember the feeling that no space belonged to me, that I was always a boarder in a rented room, the price for which was my unceasing gratitude and perfect behavior. As a young adult, I experienced a period of homelessness. Some of it I couch surfed, some of it I lived in my car, but all of it involved my not having even the sort of half space I remember from childhood. I showered in friends' bathrooms using their shampoo and conditioner, or at my $10 a month gym with travel toiletries from Dollar Tree, or the motels that I used when I couldn't find anywhere else. I ate fast food for almost every meal with no kitchen to prepare anything healthier. A lot of days I just skipped meals rather than pay for them. and did my laundry again in friends' homes or in the laundromat. The toll it took on my mental health was significant. Craving stability, craving equity and compassion, I fell into an abusive relationship with someone who promised to take care of me. And once again, I was a tolerated occupant in someone else's home. It was only in adulthood, the first time I chose my own home, whose kitchen I fell deeply in love with and still miss, and signed my own lease, paid my own rent, that I truly felt like I had a home that was mine. I bought dining room furniture, and I displayed my grandmother's china, crystal, and silver, and lined the office walls with cheap bookshelves from Target, groaning with all of the novels that I bought because I had a place to keep them now. Having my own home brought to me a sense of worth and dignity that did not feel inherent while I was homeless. Our Family Promise program reminds me a lot of days of my childhood in the homes of others, tolerated by most, enjoyed by some, but always a lodger in someone else's space, a guest expected to be constantly grateful and unceasingly cheerful, expected to clean up behind myself and smile for pictures and never ever be so ungrateful as to want something of my own. The last time that I volunteered for Family Promise, a guest and I spoke. Note, by the way, my use of the word guest. And she shared that many of their hosts view her presence as charity work, a gift their community gives to those less fortunate, and how deeply uncomfortable that was for her. She was a burden that they were kind enough, moral enough, good enough, Christian enough to take care of. And her face and her tone when she spoke of it spoke of a longing not only for compassion, but for equity and a sense of justice in her world. Like so many unhoused people, she was not unhoused through any major fault of her own. A cascading series of catastrophes for which she simply did not have the resources eventually forced her into this position with her children. Not every unhoused person, as those of us who have worked with Family Promise know, is a story or a stereotype. Many of them are just like us, only a few more crises in. She longed to be treated with that, and she deserved to be treated with that inherent worth and dignity inside of her, with acceptance and encouragement as she lived out her own search for truth and meaning, and somewhere to wash her children's clothes. I don't need to tell you that Family Promise is an important program. I do not need to tell you that having your children in a rotating series of faith spaces is better than having them in cars and short-stay hotels. I don't need to tell you about the good that Family Promise does, because I trust that you can see that for yourself, particularly after the testimonials that we've seen today. What I will tell you instead, though, from my experience and from the experiences of those from Family Promise to whom I've spoken, is how important our Unitarian Universalist principles are in how we treat our guests in our faith space home. These are our guests, not our burdens. And they know that they are our guests. But there is a difference between being a guest and being a burden. And we, as a community, have always striven to treat them as such, sometimes with more success than others. Privilege is a hard thing to root out. But we strive by our principles to treat our guests as just that, honored guests welcomed in our home. In so many ancient cultures, including the Judeo-Christian culture from which our denomination springs forth, To be a guest in someone's home was to be sacred. It was a religious obligation, as much as a cultural one, as much as a social one, to care for your guests and protect them with your life. It was your obligation, an honored obligation, to feed and shelter and clothe them as they needed, and it was proof that you understood the ways in which the sacred walked in the world. We, as Unitarian Universalists, must find it important, must continue to find it important, to hold our principles not only in the basics, providing the shelters for which all humans are entitled to, but remembering that our welcome, honored, beloved guests hold the same inherent worth and dignity that we do, and are on the same search for truth and meaning, as well as somewhere to do the laundry and somewhere to take a long hot shower. What's important for us as we hold our sacred obligation to our guests to remember is that we serve them not with brusque and impatient hands of the burden, but with loving and welcoming ones. That we and they are mere strands in the interdependent web of all existence, no single one of which is greater than any other. We are, all of us, guests on this earth. So let us never fail to be gracious hosts to one another. May it be so, and may we continue to live our values and to bring them home in the form of the home that we provide, however temporarily, our beloved family guests.
Nurture our spirit, strive for justice, transform the world. This is our mission. We fulfill this mission with our commitment of time, energy, and resources. Individually and together, we are Unitarian Universalists building a world filled with peace and justice, love and joy. The offering will now be received using the Givelify app.
The Chaddist Extinguishing was written by Cynthia Landrum. We leave this gathered community, but we don't leave our connection, our concerns, our care for each other. Our service to each other to the world, and to our faith continues. Until we are together again, friends, be strong, be well, be true, be loving.
As we go out into the world today, may we be reminded of our own status as guests upon the earth. May we treat, therefore, our fellow guests with all of the love and respect that their inherent worth and dignity deserves. May it be so.